Justin Trudeau has a new scheme to fix the housing crisis that he helped create. Yeah, that's right. The government is now going to be your long-term landlord. Now, of course, we know Justin's no stranger to dipping his toes through that iron curtain. His love for China has been long well known.
He was asked which country he most admired and referred to China.
There's a level of admiration I actually have for China because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime.
Well, he just wants to turn that economy around on a dime, so he's usurping that basic dictatorship. In a recent statement, he's come up with this new scheme that the government is gonna not only sell off, they're not gonna sell off government land that's not being used and hasn't been used for a very long time. No. They're gonna turn around and be your landlord.
Here's something we can all agree on. We need more housing in Canada, but that the government should step up and make sure that housing gets built, that's where some people disagree. Take federal lands, land that's owned by the federal government that isn't being used anymore. The Conservative Party leader wants to sell it all off to make a quick buck. That does nothing for you. The federal government owns tons of land in cities and towns across the country. You could build a lot of homes on those lands, so that's what we're going to do. We're offering up that public land for housing. And we're not just going to sell it all to developers, we're going to long-term lease it. See, by leasing the land, we get to work with communities to make sure that home builders are building the right homes, homes you can afford. We've got land, we got lots of houses to build, so that's exactly what we're going to do.
You got nobody to build those homes. Canada's average for home building is about 230,000 homes per year, and that's actually dwindling because of less people getting into the trade than are actually retiring out of the trade. So let alone those numbers, how is this going to happen? But where did he get this scheme? Where did he get this idea of the government leasing out oh, wow, that's right. Private property ownership in China is really leasing property. People sometimes spend all their money they've ever made on their home. Then after 70 years, the government takes it back from them. Wow, this sounds like a great model. People don't own their homes in China. They don't own property. The federal government owns it all. When Chinese people say that they've bought a house, what they really mean is that they've leased it from the government for 70 years. When time is up, the property will apparently go back to its rightful owner, the People's Republic of China. We're going to have the People's Republic of Canada if he sees this through. Like a car whose lease is up, the Chinese government is not slated to pay for the property it reacquires. It simply goes back to the man and the deal is done. And seems like a new scheme that Justin Trudeau has come up with. It's like a new scheme every week, and none of them sound like good ideas at all. I mean, you might have heard of this idea. It's been floating around for some time. Yeah, that's right. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Well, are you going to be happy about it? Well, I know you can be happy if you own some of this property. You can head over to Clyde.com. The site is up now and ready to go. Have a cup of joe with me in the mornings and go over there and enjoy it. This is locally roasted here in British Columbia coffee, and get yourself a mug. And right now we just have this limited time only Wobbly Pops t-shirt. Get yours. These are not print on demand. These are already made, and they're in limited supply. So get in there, get one quick while they still last. Once they're gone, they are absolutely gone. And that's because prices are rising all the time. Justin Trudeau bragging about how well he's been doing with the economy. Inflation is now the lowest it's been in over 2 years. Wow, look at that. Today, it's down here. Is it really? Because, well, what have they actually done? I said, good work, Trudeau. You've changed the way we measure the effects of inflation. Pat yourself on the back. Of course, this is a misnomer. The whole idea of inflation isn't this. Measuring inflation is not the inflation. What they're measuring is rising prices. Inflation is an increase in the monetary supply. The increase in the monetary supply is not going down. We're just changing how we measure it. And when we change how we measure it, if you change the distance between a ruler, you put more numbers on that, it doesn't make a foot, it doesn't change the physical properties of it. The prices are still going up, and this is something that people are really suffering from here in Canada. Govt.exe is corrupt on Twitter, or X as we call it now. Stop gaslighting us by saying inflation is down when everything we need to buy is at record highs. 25% of Canadians live in poverty. Food banks are the modern day breadlines, and people are now moving out of the suburbs into the cities.
Also, new data compiled by Food Banks Canada now finds that almost 25% of Canadians are living in poverty. That is significantly higher than the 10% living below the poverty line. So for a closer look at this, we're joined live by Food Banks Canada Research Director Richard Matern. Richard, appreciate you joining us here. These are really concerning numbers because it's so much higher than what we initially thought. Is that because of your research methods, or is it because more people are just saying, hey, I'm in fact living in poverty? How has this been, these numbers arrived at?
So this is a new methodology. We used a methodology called the Material Deprivation Index, or the MDI for short. And what that is a way to measure poverty by looking at people's standard of living. And it's been used in Europe for many decades. So we did a Made in Canada deprivation index, and we developed one. And based on the survey that we conducted, if people were missing 2 or more out of 11 essential items, which the majority of Canadians deemed essential, they're very likely to be living at a poverty level standard of living. And this differs from our current poverty measure in that we're not looking at just income alone, but we're looking at what people can actually afford with the income they have. And there's many things that are impacting people's standard of living today, as many can imagine.
Yeah. Imagine that. We measure poverty the way other people measure poverty around the world, and it goes up in Canada. That is just astonishing. Now, we have more schemes from the Liberal Party, them saying we're delivering more support for renters while unlocking 3.87 million new homes across Canada. But Pierre Poilievre wants to cut housing investments. Add your name to support our plan to make housing fairer for every generation. Well, what is their plan? You look at their website, it doesn't say anything about what their plan is. They just say, hey, why don't you sign up and put your name on this list to show that you're consenting to the unlocking of homes, 3.87 million homes in Canada. Well, hold on a second. We don't have the capacity to make 3.87 million new homes. What does unlocking homes mean, by the way? I tweeted this out saying, why does unlocking 3.8 million homes sound like a massive property confiscation program? They obviously don't have the capacity to build those homes, but they do have a capacity to take those homes from people. As David Lametti once said, in Canada, the Canadians ultimately don't have the right to property. Yeah, that's right. An MP sitting in government said that. He was also the Minister of Justice at the time that he said that. He's been ousted since, because that's what happens when Justin Trudeau needs to get out of trouble. He rolls over and throws people under the bus. But nonetheless, this is the sentiment that's going on around Canada amongst progressives, the ultra-leftoid progressives. Floyd here a few months ago pointing out that in Vancouver, there is an estimated 500,000 to 800,000 empty bedrooms, at least 1 in 5 in the midst of a housing crisis. Here's a map. We've plotted it out. Hey, guess what? If you had an office, maybe your kids moved out and you got a spare room, maybe that you'd like to have for family or whatnot. Well, guess what? There's a bunch of people we just brought into the country, and well, we need houses for those people, because that's what, at the end of the day, we can reach out to you and say, hey, guess what? We need you to step up and fix the mistakes that we've made in government. That's right. Now, if that sounds egregious, well, that is egregious. And, people are saying, we don't want communism. We just want democratic socialism. Well, the good old words of Vladimir Lenin, the goal of socialism is communism. But hey, I'd love to leave this one with you. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Is this something that you think the government would go forward and do? It's crazy to think how far we've come since, since 2015. A lot has changed in this time, and a lot of things that we said we would never put up with, we have absolutely put up with. And now we have government schemes of turning, private property ownership into government leases. Now we're Chinese style. Now we're looking at the confiscation of property, unlocking homes. What does that even mean? Can we get an MP to come out and tell us what they mean by unlocking homes? Let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.